Alright guys, so today we're going to talk more about compositions, which is kind of what we did yesterday. And I'm just going to show you the different notation of a composition, and we're going to be dividing. So, 2 steps of dividing. You're always going to factor the top and the bottom. If you cannot factor it, just leave it how it is. Then you're going to cancel out the common factors if possible. Again, if you cannot cancel out anything, it really doesn't change. The problem becomes the answer. So, and again, just look at the notation here, and I kind of did this yesterday when we did the adding, subtracting, multiplying. But f over g of x means the same thing as f of x divided by g of x. Anytime you see a fraction bar, you're dividing. So for dividing functions, and I'll do the first couple with you, and then I'll do some more in class. But I do want you to try some of these at home on your own, and then when I go over them in class, you can see if you got them right or not. So for letter A, if you take x squared plus 4x plus 4, we're dividing it by g of x, which is x squared plus 9x plus 14. So from here, again, this problem looks really complicated, but once you factor, it becomes a lot easier. So I'm going to factor the top and I'm going to factor the bottom. The top is actually a perfect square trinomial. So when you factor it, you end up with x plus 2 times x plus 2. You can also write it as x plus 2 squared, but when you get to the bottom, you're going to need to know how to simplify that or cancel it out. So at the bottom, factor this out, and again, find 2 numbers that multiply to get 14 and add to get 9. And I'm automatically thinking of 7 and 2. 7 times 2 is 14, 7 plus 2 is 9. So at the bottom, you have x plus 2, you have x plus 7, and now you can really see the common factors. And again, you're only going to cancel it out if it occurs once. So for example, like you're not going to cancel out all of the x plus 2's. You're just going to cancel out this x plus 2 and this x plus 2. Because these divided by each other will equal 1. You still have these left over, and that is actually your answer. So your final answer, x plus 2 over x plus 7. You can leave it like that, or you can put them in parentheses, I don't care. For letter B, so we have k of x divided by h of x. So we have 6x squared plus 6x at the top. At the bottom, you're going to have x plus 1, x plus 2. This one's actually easier than letter A because they've already factored it for you. Yay. So we just have to factor the top. Common factor is 6x. When you take it out, you get 6x parentheses, x plus 1. At the bottom, you still have x plus 1, x plus 2. And again, you're going to cancel out common factors. So cross out the x plus 1 at the top, cross out the x plus 1 at the bottom. Even though this one comes second and this one comes first, you can still cancel them out. The order that you multiply does not matter, because you're really multiplying 6x times x plus 1, and then x plus 1 times x plus 2. So they cancel out because they equal 1 when you divide. So you're just left with 6x over x plus 2. And again, just keep in mind, you have to leave it like this. A lot of kids want to cancel these x's out. You cannot do that because you're adding 2 at the bottom. So just leave it as 6x over x plus 2. So that's what we do for dividing. Again, I want you to try at least C and D on your own at home, and then I'll go over them in class tomorrow, and hopefully you can get them right or almost correct on your own. Scrolling on down, we'll do the word problem together tomorrow. Compositions. So once again, it's all about plugging a function in for x. It is just what we did today. If you think about when we had f of x plus 1, that was like an example problem from yesterday. We were plugging the x plus 1 in for x, okay? So now you're just going to see it written a different way. So composition again, combining 2 functions by substituting one function in for x in the other function. So using f of x, which is 2x squared plus 5x, and g of x, which is actually the radical of x, or the square root of x, we're going to substitute g of x into f of x. So you're going to take this entire function, and you're going to plug it in for both of these x's. So you end up with 2 times radical x squared. And again, whatever you plug into x, put it in parentheses. That is what we did yesterday. Plus 5 times radical x. Now, we can actually simplify this because radical x squared is x. the square undoes the square root. So you're left with 2 times x plus 5 times the square root of x. And you can leave it like that. We don't really have powers. And even if you think about writing the powers in decreasing order, this power is 1, this power is a half. So this is actually the proper order to write it in. So that would be your correct, your final answer for that one. So scrolling on down, this is the different notation for a composition, or when you're plugging a function in for x instead of just a number or a variable. So you may see it as f of g of x or fog. I like to call it fog. And again, it just means f of g of x. So same thing. So for letter A, if we have g of f of x, that means you're taking the function f of x, and add a little f here. So we're taking this entire function, you're plugging it in for g of x. So you're going to plug it in for this x here, okay? So we end up with 2 over 5x plus 2 minus 1. And again, whatever you're plugging in for x, leave it in parentheses because it really helps you to see, hey, I still have 2 over x minus 1, but my x is now 5x plus 2. So then you would have 2 over, and go ahead and simplify it, 5x plus 2 minus 1, which is just 2 over 5x plus 1. Okay, and that is actually your final answer, so leave it like that, 2 over 5x plus 1. For letter B, so we have GOH, so we're plugging the h, this function, in for j, so this x right here, okay? So you're plugging the 3x minus 4, everything goes under the radical. And then you're left with radical 3x minus 4 plus 2. And again, be careful because a lot of times the answers are going to look really crazy. Believe it or not, this is your final answer, okay? Don't think that you can simplify this radical. It is 3x minus 4. And then you have this positive 2 out to the side. So this is actually what it's going to look like. And again, try letter C on your own, and we'll do some more problems tomorrow. And again, just remember that when you have a 4, a number in the parentheses, that means that after you do the composition, so for example, if I ended up with this as my composition, if I were to plug a 4 in for this x here, that would be j of h of 4. Okay, so you just plug, do the composition first, then plug the number in first. Okay? All right. And again, just jot down any questions that you're going to have, and I can go over this again tomorrow. So have a good night.